Um, but as I was saying, when I met Jack in 2008 through a local network organization, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and I hadn't met him. I sat down next to him at a breakfast, and he asked me what I did, and I said, well, I help companies grow faster. I'm a sales and marketing guy, and he said, and I asked him what he did, and he told me, well, I help uh, business owners figure out what they're going to do next so that they don't mess up their succession, or executives and professionals for that matter. And I'm thinking, we should keep talking because I'm kind of your guy. So we kept meeting for coffee, and over the course of a year, we realized that there was a lot of things we can do to help each other, and there's a lot of ways we should be working together. And then, like to say, 7 years later, we became an overnight success story. So that's how we came together, and how we understand very deeply the personal challenges, the fears that sort of rack people when they're going through a major life change of either leaving a business or leaving a long career. So what we're here to talk about is we have two programs of self-reflection that are part of our affiliate program. What's Next is something that's geared towards business owners, and then Exploring Your Life, Shaping Your Future, or Explore is what our shorthand is really geared for that late career professional or executive. Could be a CPA, an accountant, a attorney, someone who doesn't necessarily have a practice of business to sell, and the practice is simply going to go back to the other partners and so forth, but they're not really sure what they're going to do next, and they want to make sure that they've got a meaningful future. So these are programs that really help people move forward, get unstuck, as we like to say. It's not the formal planning of all of our programs, but if you don't get unstuck, you basically are letting inertia, which is the most powerful force of nature, kind of rule your life. And the people who are attracted to our programs don't want to be ruled by that. Specifically, the way they work is there's an online 20-minute questionnaire. After the person completes it, it executes a report, and it's filled with certain things, to-dos, checklists, and so forth. They also get a copy of one of Jack's books. So there's Finding a New Owner, which is geared for business owners. And for executives, currently we have a white paper, but Jack is just about ready to release his third book, which will be called Freedom to Be Your True Self, 7 Principles for Living with Authenticity. So one of those books will go with each of those programs. And then the person also receives via PDF, along with the PDF of the report from the questionnaire, is a self-discovery guidebook, which is 20 to 30 pages of questions about what they should be thinking about for themselves, their business, their life, and really helping them move beyond just the simple questionnaire. We like to say the questionnaire is like sort of getting their toe in the water, and then by reading one of the books and getting into the guidebook, now they're getting up to their knees. We do all of that for only $99. So we want to make it easier for people to get started. We want to make it easy for people you refer this program to not let price be the issue. They do have to spend some time on this, at least 20 minutes. Hopefully they'll spend a few more hours by reading the book and going through the guidebook. And then it can be an opportunity for you as a consultant or a coach to have sort of objective information that gets into the subjective, that gets them into the emotional part of the conversation, and that hopefully will allow you to build from there. So we like to say what we offer to people is this is our core deliverable, as a framework for purposeful living. And each of these are, if you will, sort of activities or lifestyle areas. And when people are going through this transition or thinking about going through a major transition, they're very much consumed often with their work, right? How do you then replace that with a sense of meaning or a sense of purpose? And what we really like to help people do is you've got to focus on each of these areas, and you really need to make robust decisions. And that's the sort of the next step of our programs, which we can talk about a little later. But this is a way to get started and start asking the question, what do you do outside of work for intellectual stimulation? Or what do you do outside of work that's related to volunteer and philanthropic? What do you do if you have a spouse or partner with that person? Again, sort of outside of work, because some business owners work with their spouses all day long. And when you lose that work, when you lose the social connections that happen with that, it can be very disruptive for people. I'm sure a number of you who have worked with business owners, who have worked with executives and professionals, will see this and perhaps even experienced it yourself. Having a framework is just a logical way for people to work through their ideas, their brainstorming, and their choices so they can drill down and ultimately get to a place where they feel they've got an integrated life. So here are some reasons that the affiliates have signed up with us so far. They were looking for, a couple of proven, highly effective programs of self-reflection that they can offer to their clients, and it doesn't cost an affiliate anything to offer them. You simply sign up. Your clients or prospects will get unstuck about their transition. It also allows you to use the programs to essentially leverage whatever you do today, business, law, personal coaching, executive coaching, what have you. This can be a source of leads. If you use some of the marketing materials we have that are related to this, you can introduce this to your prospects, your clients, perhaps offer chapter 1 of Jack's book as a PDF download. Essentially use this as another way of lead nurturing that doesn't directly say, would you please buy my stuff, or would you please hire me? It's, hey, I can help you. Here's objective information, programs that are proven. We also offer a profile and advisor network. If anyone has visited our website and clicked on the advisor tab, it talks about some of the different people who've been through our programs and some people that we have referral relationships, and then folks like yourself who are affiliates or wish to be affiliates. And then we've also built a nice dashboard on our back end where you can log in and actually see what's going on. You can choose which ads you might wish to add to your website and so forth. So what's all this about? So yesterday I happened to be talking to a group of people, and I used this expression, the retirement journey. And in many ways, that's what this is. People are thinking about my next step, and not necessarily fully defined, other than as whether golf, gardening, and grandkids, or as I like to call them, the 3 Gs. I recently wrote a blog because "Is retirement a big fat lie?" and everybody yesterday got a big laugh when I said that. Because unfortunately in our society, a lot of people think of work as what you see this. You're pushing a rock, the Sisyphean battle. All right, and then they think of retirement as, oh, I'm going to sail off into the sunset. Now, those of you who worked with people in this play, work doesn't necessarily have to be that, but all of us feel, even those of us who have pretty fulfilling jobs, that sometimes it really does feel like you're Sisyphus. You really are pushing that rock. And this awfully looks really good. All right, Jack, you're a sailor. I'm sure he's nodding in the background there. And yet, for other folks, they look at that and say, but I want something more than just sort of sailing off. I don't want to sail away and not be connected, not be integrated, sort of lose who I am and what makes me, give me a sense of importance. So this is perhaps tying into what I call this whole concept of what exactly is retirement. Well, if you look at the course of human history, until the mid-20th century, most people around the world, on average, lived only 30 to 40 years. And it took really until the mid-20th century for people to start living to 50 or 60 years. Today, most people globally live between 60 and 70 years. In some affluent countries, they may live into their 80s, and then a few select, very affluent countries with really good health systems and good diets live well into their 80s, for example, Japan. So if this is the sort of the paradigm of how humanity has gone on, why did retirement even come to be? Most people didn't live long enough. If you look at the Germans, were one of the first pension systems they created in the late 1800s. They did it in a way such that the eligibility for that was so late that most people never collected it. I'm just pausing for a moment. I just got a question. Let me just read that. Do people tell you that the 10 sections are a little overwhelming? Have you thought about paring it down to fewer sections? It's a great question. To a degree, I agree. To a sense, if you look at that and say, you've got to do all this, some people may. And what we like to say is, see the big picture first, and then you have to break it down step by step. All right. And when we're working, when people are using our programs, they actually don't do this all at once. They'll typically do this over a period of hours or days or weeks, really, and little by little work through the process so they get a comfort level of okay, I can do this. This is a manageable process. And then as you come up with more lifestyle choices and you talk to your partner or your spouse or business partner, the case may be, you're able to then make it a more manageable process. Great question, though. Thank you, Ray. So this was a study released in 2015, I should say, by the U.S. Department of Labor, and they asked people a question, how do you spend your time? And they had a whole bunch of categories, and they looked at people age 45 plus. So the entire population, that was working full time, 45 plus, about 8 hours of work, 7 hours of sleep, and 9 hours for the rest of it. But for retired folks, they moved up to about 8 hours, which I'm kind of excited about because I definitely don't get enough sleep. And then the retirees also said that they spend about 6 hours a day watching TV and movies. And then there's 10 hours for the rest of it. So if you think about it, they got a little more sleep, but they're trading work for a lot more TV and movies and whatever everything else is. I don't know about you, but that doesn't get me too excited. And to me, I think that ties into the fact that people haven't really thought about that picture, haven't really thought about the other aspects of their life, or done so in a robust way. Or perhaps they tried one or two ideas, they didn't work out, and so the default is, well, I'll keep it simple. There was a study done by University of Wisconsin. They asked people a series of questions that all really related to, do you feel you're living with a sense of purpose in your life? And as people reported that, those who had a tendency to report that they didn't feel they were living with a sense of purpose, they tended not to survive by the end of this 14 years. The people who did feel that they lived with a sense of purpose were generally alive at the end of this. So in that case, it's not just a nice thing to have a purpose throughout the course of your life. It can actually extend your life. Of course, we're not the only ones talking about this. Some of you on the call today are advisors or coaches, you're talking about it. But, here are some, well-regarded folks. Lee Iacocca, as you know, rescued Chrysler. But what many people don't know is the story of how he ended up at Chrysler. He was an executive at Ford. He was responsible for the launch of the Mustang, which until the advent of the Tesla was the most successful launch of any automobile in U.S. history. And he was riding high. And the only problem was there was some kind of a turnover at the family level of the Fords. And as a result of that, the new Mr. Ford didn't care for Mr. Iacocca and apparently told him one day, "You're fired." And when Iacocca asked why, Ford replied, "Because I don't like you." Pretty tough thing to go from as high as you can go to flat on your back. But obviously, it kind of worked out for him. What are some reasons people don't transition well? What we've seen over the years is, you have some expressions that people hear. Some people might say, well, I don't even want to think about it. And business owners, lawyers, accountants, I'm not picking on anybody. This is, in my experience, these are folks who you often hear that. Other folks will say, oh, God, I don't want to plan about that. I just want to take a leave. I just want to, get out of here, and I can't wait. I'll figure it out. It'll be just fine. And then other folks who have one thing, I'm going to golf. I'm going to garden. I'm going to help my daughter with her kids. And it's sort of just that one idea. They really don't want to think anything outside of that one choice. Well, there are implications of those. So when you hear somebody say, I don't want to think about it, this is another way. This is what we call the repress and deny. If you don't think you're ever going to leave your business or leave your career, then it'll never happen, which of course is nonsense because everybody leaves their business or career someday. Other folks, I don't want to plan. Well, you can also be like this guy. It's kind of a hard time to be asking this question. Where's my parachute? I've already taken a big leap. And then, of course, there's that guy. And, Jack told me this story one time. He was at a college reunion with some fraternity brothers and their spouses, and everyone was talking about this and that, what they were doing. And there was one fellow who had a fairly successful career, and he became very much, after he retired, he became very much obsessed with his lawn and proceeded to be an absolute bore that evening and, was sort of grinding on about the lawn. As I like to say, just because that one thing is really interesting to you doesn't not necessarily make you an interesting person. So you might want to think about that in terms of how you talk to your clients, or if you're thinking about this yourself, is, how do I broaden my horizons, or how do I help my clients broaden their horizons so they're more interesting? So we all understand the concept of the golden years as opposed to retirement and leisure. But here's a couple of things. The golden years was an invention. The golden years is not something that's been around for the last 150, 200 years. The golden years was invented by a man named Del Webb. He needed an angle in order to sell retirement communities, all right, in Arizona, Florida, what have you. And he created the golden years. He trademarked the term, all right, and of course then he made billions of dollars. He made so much money he didn't bother enforcing the trademark anymore. He didn't care. He got what he wanted. He got all the gold that he needed out of them golden years. So some folks look at that and say, well, okay, that's nice. It's not what I want, but I can't think of anything else to do, so I guess I'll just keep working. Some of you may have clients, for example, that say, I'm going to go out boots first. I'm going to die at my desk. And an image that I would like you to share, certainly something I share with people that I work with, is this guy. This guy died at his desk. He's got a nice tie, nice table, certainly a nice chair. But the big question is, at what point did someone say, or what point did he ask himself, is dying at your desk the best that you can do with the rest of your life? Because that's kind of the alternative to that statement. I'm just going to die here. But here's the sad truth. People don't really die at their desks. People die in our society in nursing homes, hospitals, hospices, sometimes ambulances. It really doesn't happen. And so therefore, if you're going to die through the medical industrial complex, which is basically how we entered this world, what do you want to do between now and then to get the most out of the rest of your life? Here are some implications that we've seen for people who don't plan well. The idea of a Velcro husband. All right, not to pick on the guys today, but being one, I'm guilty. Sometimes where husbands can be so dependent upon their wives for the social calendar and so forth. Now they're home 24/7. And instead of just the social, it's like just looking for things to do. Someone may be going out shopping, spouse is going out shopping, and husband saying, can I come along? Can I drive you? Right? Which of course can then drive the other person crazy. We marry for better, for worse, but not for lunch. All right. That's actually a partial quote from the wife of Tip O'Neill, who's a famous politician. She told him after 40 years in Congress, I haven't made you lunch for the last 40 years. You need to get an office. You get out of the house each day just to have lunch. And he did. He followed that advice. More sadly, addiction rates, dependency problems are increasing. And then there's different kind of widows, obviously the obvious one. But then there are golfing widows, there are runners' widows, there are fishers' widows. In other words, people who get obsessed with their one thing to the point where they actually push away their other partner or family members, and everyone else is feeling a little widowed. There's a lot of stress. And then MLS stands for Married But Living Separately. It also stands for Multiple Listing Service. But oftentimes, couples who are different ages, one person will retire before the other needs to keep working or just wants to keep working. They may have a retirement home, someplace else, whether it's, Cape Cod, the Carolinas, Bali, wherever the case may be. So the retired person goes there because that was sort of the plan. And if it takes 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 years for the other partner or spouse to move, that separation can create a lot of stress, and unfortunately, sometimes it can end up in gray divorce. So gray divorce is a term that was first started coming around in 2009. This was a study done at Bowling Green State University. And as you can see there, the divorce rate has exploded. Something else to understand is the divorce rate now for people in their 50s is equivalent to the divorce rate, so long-term marriages, similar to the divorce rate for people in their 20s, very short marriages. And even more sadly, by 2030, these people projected that divorces may represent, in the 58 plus crowd, may represent somewhere between 30 and 35% of all divorces. So unfortunately, it's not getting better. And our belief is there's a lack of common values. I saw this very recently with a couple who've been together a long time. Both kids leave the house and suddenly they split up. Okay. So what's going on also is, all of us, we got up today, we knew where we were going to go, the office of this, that, an appointment. So, you start from where you are and you know where you're going, where the ending, and you actually know the map of the path along the way. And if you don't, you've got GPS these days. But a transition is actually kind of the opposite. You know something is ending. You're selling the business, you're leaving the business, you're ending your career, but you haven't really defined very fully what this new beginning, what this new chapter, what is this journey really going to be like? And when you're going through that, you're going through a transition, or a transition zone, as Jack likes to call it. And very much, unless you go through a transition process, unless you really dig into what's happening and how you feel and what some of your fears are, you may jump at various ideas, or worse, simply get stuck and choose nothing. In other words, you get stuck in this morass. Because if you haven't thought through the process well, and you don't have a good start, whatever your new beginning is, you'll then fail, and you end up back in this zone. And you're sort of stuck here. So if you follow a process, you can not only get unstuck, you can create a series of options, similar to the framework I mentioned earlier, and that gives you a place for your new beginning. If it doesn't happen to work out, it's not a tragedy, because you've come up with a variety of other ideas, of other options that you can do. In many ways, what we like to say is there's a sort of binary choice has been made in our society. All right, you're either retired or you're working full time. And much like this, people look at the glass and say it's either half full of wine or half empty. And it's actually half full of wine and half full of air. You see, it's actually perfectly balanced. And that's the trick as we move on to this next part of the journey, is how do we find that right balance of work and life and friendship and social connections and keeping ourselves physically healthy. Finding that new balance. So I like to say, if you spent the last 40 years out of balance, do you want to spend the next 40 years out of balance? So we're familiar with this. This is something that was developed late in the 20th century. We were educated, we had a career, and then we had this retirement, which might be 5, 10 years or so for a lot of people. Then as health systems improved, nutrition improved, medications improved, all of a sudden people started living a lot longer. My mom passed away last year at 89. Jack's dad passed away this year at 95. All right, that's an awful long time to quote unquote be retired. So the concept that we have, that the mark that Jack created, the platinum years, is really not trying to be cute. It's about saying, hey, it should be better than the golden years. It should be really exciting and integrated and fulfilling, purposeful. But it can't get that way all on its own. You've got to be willing to break through out of the old paradigm and embrace the new, more balanced thinking, and to do the work. So here's an example of some of the exercises. We ask a whole series of questions, but you start with outside of work. What do I enjoy doing? What gives my life meaning? What do I honor and respect myself for? But understand that the premise to each of these questions is outside of work. Because if you go back to thinking about what you enjoy of work, and work gives your life meaning, and I honor and respect myself for the things I do at work, you're going to have a really, really hard time if you leave. Other areas we ask people to explore is other transitions they've been through in the past. Whether it was leaving school and getting started in a career, going from being single to being married, or being from married back to being single. And we ask people to write down an age or year when that happened to sort of ground it, and then really think through what lessons they learned from there. And when people go through these exercises, and we have many of them in the guidebooks, that really starts to give them a strength of who they are outside of this work role that they've always had, outside of this career or business that they've owned. And I've gone through a lot of stuff in my life. Here I am in my 50s or 60s or 70s, and I can do this. I made it through these other transitions. I can make it through this one too. I've got that intestinal fortitude, and I'm doing some self-reflection that's going to give me a foot up on where I want to go next. So here's a short story from George. George is an accountant. He's been doing taxes for 35 years, as he said when we first met him. And things were going fine. He had never really got around to creating a successor or anything in the business, but he had a nice business and made a nice living. And then George had a heart attack and almost died. And he realized, this is ridiculous. I have all these clients. I have employees. It's irresponsible of me to just do this. I need to step back, all right, and come up with a real succession plan. So he went through our assessment, and it really helped him understand some of the things that he had been avoiding, some of the things he was concerned about, and ultimately was able to craft a plan over a course of 3 years to bring in a junior person, elevate that person to the partner, and ultimately the managing partner. And now he was just saying recently, he's now a consultant to the successor, all right? And so it was really a good story of someone who was just willing to take the time. He went beyond this initial assessment, actually did some client work through a workshop and some private coaching. Susan was slightly different. Here's someone who was a psychologist practicing on the West Coast. She decided for a variety of reasons to move to the East Coast. And then she transformed herself into a business coach. And that was going fine. It was working along. But she got to a place where physically and mentally she didn't necessarily want to do that work anymore. And she was looking for something else, but she sort of kept getting stuck. And what ultimately was holding her back wasn't the options that were in front of her, but was her inability to sort of accept the fact that even though she was, later in her career, later in her life, that she was fully capable of making a transition. And once she addressed those fears, and once she created this framework about how she could do it, she understood how to create an exit strategy from the coaching business and to move on to her life, and that's what she's done. The programs that we talk about through the affiliate program are really the starting block, if you will. So once people get unstuck, now they're open to the idea of these 5 different areas that they need to work on: psychological, emotional, intellectual, the lifestyle, which relates to that framework, and then ultimately spiritual. Now, spiritual, we don't talk in terms of the religious aspect, although some people like to pursue that, but it's more about, what makes us human. It's that sense of we're connected to this greater universe, we're connected to the people around us. And finding ways to prepare yourself to go through some of these concerns, that's what ultimately helps you move forward on understanding who you really are and what you really want to do in the platinum years or the next chapter of your life. So we often have a talk that we end, as I ended one yesterday, and I said, for most folks, there's really 3 paths forward. Some people, they want to die at their desk. They can't imagine ever leaving. And so, unfortunately, they leave themselves limited to this rutted road. There are other folks who said, I've seen other people retire. I guess that doesn't look bad. And they follow sort of the smooth path over here. And, that's sort of the typical binary choice. But what we're challenged people to do is to choose the middle path, is to really take a look at creating a more dynamic, purposeful future. Because it could, in fact, be the best 10, 20, or 30 years of your life if you're willing to do the work. So that's a nutshell on our program. Oh, I've got a question here. What about the physical? I'm not sure what you mean. Did you mean in terms of physically getting healthy? That is part of the framework. If I've understood the question, I'm sorry. Maybe you can clarify. But while you're thinking about that, we do help people understand that they need to stay physically healthy. They want, as I like to say, if you're going to live a long time, it'd be nice to live as well as you can for as long as you can, but you also have to focus on the intellectual. If that didn't answer your question, feel free to shoot me one afterwards, or the continuum. Okay. So the continuum, the physical, okay. Let me close this down here. So the physical is we incorporate as part of the lifestyle. All right. So it's just what you do, all the activities that you do just our own expression. So how does a program work? Pretty straightforward. You have to sign an agreement. Again, there's no cost. I will send you login credentials. You fill out your profile on a dashboard. Within the dashboard, then you can select the 6 different ads, those little banners that you saw at the beginning, and you can choose which one makes sense for you. And then place the graphic on your website. You can add copy. We have a couple of downloads, chapter 1 of Jack's books that you can use with clients to sort of get them motivated to think about it. And you can use this just simply as a means to generate your own leads. Oop, got another question here. Okay, good, got it answered. And in addition to the affiliate program, we have a pretty robust training program that we've created over the last 4 years now. We've been doing this. So the original program is a transition planning consultant, whereby you can certainly be an affiliate, and some are. They do that. But then we have the short-term coaching programs, What's Next, which I can't get into all the details of that today, but the idea is your ability to not just offer them something to buy, but then we would actually train you to implement that program over a couple of coaching sessions, really digging into it, as it were, both for the business owners, which is What's Next, and for everyone else, which is Explore. We also have workshop versions of these coaching programs, so that folks who wanted to spend, perhaps as long as 4 hours on it with a small group of people, which could be a half day or it could be 2 evenings. And then the sort of, if you will, long-term coaching programs are shorthand being Think, Live, and Decide. But this is dealing with both fears, how you move forward. Live is actually going through that framework that we talked about, sort of week by week. And then Decide is ultimately deciding what to do with your company, if you're a business owner. Living with Purpose workshop is a 12-hour workshop, typically divided over a couple of days, that allows people to step-by-step sort of go through and fill out that framework, how they're going to live, how they're going to stay healthy, how they're going to stay connected, what they're going to do potentially for new income-producing work. So that's the original program. We've trained about 20 people, a little more than that now, gone through all there. Transition Advisor program we released the middle of last year, and we've got about 15 or 16 people have now signed up for that, where someone is learning the coaching programs, and then they receive the information how to deliver the workshops. So those are really the 3 options that people have who are coaches or advisors who might want to work with us. Affiliate's free. That's the easy way to start. We have a number of people who started as transition advisors because it's a pretty inexpensive investment. The training is all done remotely via webinar. And then for folks who want to upgrade, we allow them to simply upgrade, just pay the difference and go through this much longer training. This is probably around 10 hours or so. This is more like 40. And obviously, the affiliate training is fairly limited. There's a video on the site that shows you how to use the information, but there's not tremendous training on that. Although we're certainly open to helping people use it in a better way. The programs are not new, but the affiliate program is. So in terms of next steps for here, here's how to reach me. I get everybody lined up. I live in the Boston area. And any part of this that didn't make sense, I'm happy to answer questions, of course. But if you go to platinumyears.com/affiliate, it goes through all this information. It also does have a short video that explains how you would actually use the dashboard and log in, get the information you need, monitor results, get the ads. And once this recording is done, I'll probably be posting that to that page as well. Oh, looks like we got another question here. Let's see. Next question is, do we take the assessments as part of becoming an affiliate? Yeah, we can. Yeah, if people would like to sort of just get a sense of what it's like, yeah, we could let you try one. That's fine. And are the annual amounts a one-time fee? Oh, so for the training costs, let me go back to there. These are one-time fees. They're the only ongoing cost for people who go through our training is they buy products. So we have online assessments that are related to all of these. And so there's a small monthly fee. I think it's $25 a month. And then when you purchase different programs, which are also, the assessments are inexpensive. They're either $25 or $50 each. You can also buy books. So this really, the upfront is sort of your big expense. The ongoing expense is pretty modest, and ultimately depends on how much work you're going to be doing with clients. We try to make it inexpensive and accessible, both from the coaching perspective of buying it and then hopefully from the client perspective of implementation. Next question. So where can we go to see sample copies, sample pages of the assessment and workbook? I did show you just a sliver of some exercises there, but if for those of you who are interested, send me an email and I can give you a test of an assessment. That's really the best way to do it. You answer the questionnaires, you get a sense of what that's all about. And I'm happy to share that with you. And obviously you have to sign a non-disclosure because it's sort of confidential, but that's pretty normal. Once again, this is how you reach me, paul@theplatinumyears.com. This is my phone number. And if you do go to this affiliate page, we'll explain a little more in depth how that works. And then hopefully by tomorrow, I'll have this recording video up there as well for people to watch again or share with all your friends, as I like to say. So I'm going to open this up now here and see if there are any other questions. Don't see any other questions at the moment. Jack, do you have any other thoughts, or do you have any other questions that you've heard from other people that maybe we should be addressing?
Really, the reason why I created this program was really at the request of the people in the exit planning, business succession arena. I've gone to so many different conferences like XPX, etc., and the advisors were asking for some type of tool that could help them deal with the soft issues, but without going into the deep waters with the owner. And this is really what it's meant to do, because unless that owner can wrap their minds or hearts around the whole issue of leaving the companies, they're not going to pull the trigger. Nothing's going to happen. So this keeps the advisor in the numbers, the transactional frame of mind with the owner. But what this program is doing is to help the owner start dealing with the issues of keeping them up at night. And it's free for you.
Good. So we did get one other question. Thank you, Jack. So to just clarify, I apologize if I didn't do that. So if any person who buys this, so if you're an affiliate, you offer to your client, for example, you say, oh, I have a couple of programs with self-reflection. I'll send you a link. In this case, you'd actually be sending what's called the affiliate link, which is embedded, and if you watch the little video, it'll show you how that actually works. Then that's the link that you'd be sending them. You're sending them to sort of your ad that's on your website. Then they link in all the tracking software. So the person, if you will, the client, pays $99. That's all tracked. For folks who can receive commissions, not everyone can, but if you can receive a commission, there is a $20 affiliate commission per sale, and it's all tracked, and we have a process to pay people to do that. Most people who have come to us are saying, that's great, the $20 sounds nice, but I want a program that I can get people unstuck, because if I can get my clients unstuck, or if I can get a prospect to sign with me as a result of them looking at this program or perhaps buying this program, then I'll make all the money I need. We're happy anyway. We're happy to pay the commission or not. It's totally up to you. For folks who want to do the coaching, just to clarify, so if you're buying the program, you pay the training fee up front, the $1,000 or the $10,000, but the products, as we like to call them, the online assessments, those are either $25 each or $50 each. And then there is, in order to be part of what we call our coaching community, there's a $25 monthly fee to have access to those tools. So we try to keep it very inexpensive for people to get going and to hopefully be successful with our program. Let's see. Don't see any other questions at the moment. We do have a few more minutes here. I wanted to try to keep it to 45 minutes today. But if there are, another question just popped up. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. So I guess at that point, Jack, do you have any other closing thoughts? I don't see any other questions that have come up right now.
No, I don't. Basically, there's no cost for the advisors to put it up. It's a lead generation, and it also helps the owner to be able to move forward in engaging in whatever services the advisors are offering. So to me, it's a no-brainer. It really isn't.
Great. So terrific. Thanks, everyone. Again, this is how to reach me if you have any questions on it. If you have any questions specifically about the programs, how the programs actually work on the implementation level, I can try to answer those. And if you want to reach Jack, it's really easy. It's jack@theplatinumyears.com. So we're going to end it there. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll be signing off. Have a great day.